Welcome to Worldchefs Podcast. I'm your host, Ragnar, and this is World on a Plate. Today we have a very exciting episode. I got with me a special guest, nobody else than Worldchefs President Andy Cuthbert. And Andy, everybody, he needs no introduction, has a wealth of experience, having shaped the culinary standards in dining and large-scale hotel operations. His career began in Melbourne, Australia. That took him all the way across the globe to Dubai, where over 30 years he's been instrumental in establishing the city as an international culinary destination. Served many roles, both with the Emirates Guild and Worldchefs before becoming president, and he will tell us more about that. And now he is near his first years as a president of Worldchefs. So we're gonna check in with him, take the pulse. Is there any pulse, Andy? Welcome on the show.
Thank you, Ragnar.
How's the pulse? How's the old pulse?
I'm still alive and kicking
Oh,
after nearly a year as president of the World Association of
ah,
Chef Societies, or World Chefs as we like to call ourselves. Yes,
I
all
think
good,
that's
my friend, all good.
I think that's an achievement on its own. You just
Yeah.
surviving the first 12 months.
Oh dear. Yeah, it's been an interesting 12 months. It's been great. It's been great, I must say.
Absolutely. And we will talk about that. We're going to talk about, the journey with Worldchefs over the last 12 months. But I would just like people to know, like I know you well. I would like you to tell the audience a little bit about your journey from as a little boy in Melbourne, Australia, traveling all across the globe. How does one become the World Chef President?
Well, it's becoming a cook was never a plan. Becoming the president was never a plan. But that's how life pans out sometimes. I left school at around 16 years old, and I always tell this story to people. And I left in grade form 5 or year 11 or whatever they call it in high school from a public school in Melbourne in Australia, where I was born. And I left with a qualification in music and woodwork. So I thought to myself, if I'm ever unemployed, I can make myself a wooden instrument and busk, you know. But there's no then, and then my mother always told me, get your bit of paper. You got to have a bit of paper. You got to have a bit of paper. So I got myself a job through my cousin. So my first sort of entry into the hospitality industry was in my cousin's banqueting facility at the top of Kew, a suburb called Kew in Melbourne, overlooking the city at a golf course, and there was a golf course and there was a banqueting facility there. So I used to wash the dishes and look after give the tickets out for people coming to play golf and dabble a little bit in the kitchen with him. And that's how I sort of got started. I don't have any of these memories of, cooking with my grandmother in spring and harvesting and, all this sort of stuff. My mother was a kindergarten teacher. My father was a motor mechanic. So, you couldn't be further from the hospitality industry if you tried. And so growing up in Australia, there was never any of these fond memories, that we hear on television and all this sort of stuff. But the memories were that the food in the house was always freshly cooked, and the food in the house was always good quality, because that was the greatness of Australia with its product, and being the country we are. We have such great agriculture, farming, and we have excellent ingredients. But there was never an intent to become a cook. And then when I finally got an apprenticeship, I started in a small restaurant in the eastern suburbs, and I was lucky enough to then go to Box Hill College of TAFE, did an apprenticeship for 4 years, and that's how I got my bit of paper. So my only qualification, I didn't go to university, didn't go to Cornell or EHL or Lucerne or any of this stuff, didn't go to Cordon Bleu, went to Box Hill TAFE, got a great education there from a great mentor and lecturer and cook, Bernd Uber, who's still very active in Worldchefs at the ripe old age of whatever he is. And he was sort of the one that sort of inspired me, the first person. There was another couple of people along the way. So in the restaurant, I worked with a great waiter called Vladimir, and Vladimir was from the Czech. He came to Australia with his baby in arms and a 2-year-old daughter and his wife, and they sort of arrived with 2 suitcases. But he was a classically trained pastry chef, but also a maitre d', and he worked in some of the best best hotels in Europe and in Prague. So he was quite an inspiration, and he pointed me to get into hotels. He said, "I think you can do better. Go and work in a hotel." So he got me a contact in a boutique hotel in Melbourne back then called the Rockman's Regency. I did my time there, worked with some European chefs, which was really good because I'm Australian, I'm not European. And then I went back, worked with Vladimir again. Vladimir was one of the head waiters in the restaurant. I was in the kitchen. I was chef de partie, demi chef. Then I became sous chef in that place, and was working on the saucier. And then I went back in the restaurant for about 6, 8 months, and then I got myself a job at the Hilton again through, just through walking in the back door. Told the chef, "Oh, I want to come work for the Hilton." And back then, the Hilton was the food and beverage company to work for. And then from there, it was just another phone call. After I noticed it in the kitchens of the Melbourne Hilton, that's where I met actually Peter Wright. Peter Wright was my boss, continental director of the Pacific region. So Peter and I go way back. And Peter, I think, was a chef de partie then in the Garmager. I was in the Garmager. I was taking care of the fine dining Garmager, and that was cool. We had great fun. So the world's small, and that's what I've always found in our industry. It's such a small world, and you get to meet so many great people, and then you meet them again somewhere. Then I went to the chef one day. I said, "Listen, I need to get out of Australia. I need to go and see what all you Europeans do," because back then there was only Europeans running the kitchens. So I went out to Gatwick Hilton in London, which was then an excellent hotel with a fantastic restaurant, fine dining restaurant, just brilliant. And the chef there had worked with the chef in Melbourne in Costa Rica or Puerto Rico. And so the chef in Melbourne called Patrick John, his name was, and said, "I got a boy, he wants to come." "Okay, when you can come?" "Oh, next Wednesday." So got my British passport for convenience and my Aussie one, and off I went. And I thought, well, I'll do a year in the UK, then I'll go to Munich Hilton, and then I'll come back home to Australia. Well, that was in 1988.
Yeah.
And we're now in 2025.
Didn't turn out as you
So
thought.
all the way through, I was lucky. I got opportunities, and I had someone always there to say, "Oh, do this, try this, go here, go there," and always someone recognized my ability that maybe I wasn't recognizing myself, and someone was always there to push me. So Patrick pushed me. Then the next chef, Mick Mizzen, who's going to come to our congress in Wales in May because he lives down in Wales now. So Mick was the chef there. And then when I left the Gatwick Hilton, and I'd worked with some fantastic chefs from Europe, and the ingredients and the cheese and the meat and the fresh scallops from Scotland. We were doing our own smoked salmon. I really learned so much about great ingredients, great gastronomy, and learned traditional classical cookery techniques from all the guys. Gerhard in the Garmager. There was a Belgian chef called Yves Martin, who still runs a Michelin star in Brussels. Timothy Bruce, I think he's still up in Australia somewhere. He went off to work in the Hyatt. So I was very, very lucky to work with some excellent chefs, and that gave me a great grounding, and also gave me really the passion push that I needed to become a chef and to become a better cook. And then by the end of 91, I was getting a bit cold in England because it always rains and it's miserable. So then I said, right. And I was working with some Sri Lankan guys, and I worked with Malaysian guys and Indonesian guys we were quite multicultural in the kitchen. And a couple of Sri Lankan guys had worked out in Dubai. And they said, "Oh, you got to go and work in Dubai, chef." I said, "Why?" "Oh, it's really good, Dubai Hilton, it's near the Trade Center." I said, "Oh, where's Dubai?" "Oh, Middle East, near Saudi." I said, "Oh, right, okay." I had no clue, absolutely no clue. So again, it was a phone call. Mick called Paul Allard, who was the chef. He'd done an English promotion in Abuja, where Paul was the chef in Africa. "Okay, we'll interview him." So I set my papers and did all that. And Chef Paul employed me as a sous chef. So I arrived in Dubai in 6th of January 92 as a sous chef in the Hilton Hotel. And here I have stayed all this time up until we're now in 2025. So then I worked for the Hilton. I worked I learned Indian food, Sri Lankan food, Filipino food, Arabic food. And that was a great thing and also learning how to manage. You see on television,
Mm.
what marketing's done for our industry over the last 10 years, 15 years, television programs, Master Chef, Cut, all these lifestyle television programs are really great for the industry as a push for people to really recognize hospitality, cooking, celebrate chefs and all that. However, sometimes we still have that problem of being bullies. We have that problem of being non-inclusive. We have the problem of shouting and screaming. And I remember in 2000, when did we go to Korea? We
2012.
went to
Mm.
Korea in
Mm.
2012, and Anton Mosman came to speak to the young chefs, and he told us a story when he took over the Savoy. Was he in the Savoy? Yeah.
Yeah.
And he said that when he went there was a chef that was shouting all the time, and he told the guy, he said, "Listen, we can't do that. We can't do that." And this is back in the 80s, whenever he went there. And in the end, he had to ask that chef to leave. He said, "But we can't shout and scream in the kitchens." And I think we've still got some work to do on that,
Yeah.
because we want to encourage people to come into the industry. We want people to stay in the industry for all the right reasons, to make a career, not to be abused and to be harassed and to feel that they're not good enough or whatever.
Exactly.
So when I came to Dubai, I had to learn man management. And that was a big thing that we missed in a lot of our education along the way as cooks and chefs, on how to manage the people. So I was very lucky that I worked with some extremely talented subcontinent chefs, not afraid to put me in my place, which was good, and that did me the world of good.
Yeah.
Also, I met my wife in Dubai, so that did me even better. So Madam Josephine, she was the hostess with the mostess in the fine dining restaurant, and I was the sous chef. So that's how we met. So Dubai has really been a great home for us, but also a great career path for myself. And because I was here in the early days, I've seen so much, and I have such a longevity in the city and in the country. And I've been lucky enough to work closely with the government, to work closely with all the big events, very close with some of the royal families and those sort of things. So that's been a privilege. And when I joined my current company after being a chef, and I was executive chef in the Hilton, then I joined the Jumeirah Group, which is owned by the ruler, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, who's the Prime Minister and the Vice President of the United Arab Emirates. So he was our owner, and he'd started to build the Jumeirah Beach Hotel. We'd formed a company called Jumeirah, and the Jumeirah was making iconic hotels. We have the Burj Al Arab, then we built the Emirates Towers Hotel, Madinat Jumeirah, and so on. And then the company grew as the city grew, and as the city grew with tourism, and the Department of Tourism, Commerce and Marketing, as it was called back then, which is now the Dubai Economic and Tourism Department, they were very strong with pushing brand Dubai out to the world as a tourist destination, and we were always involved with that. And I think that was one of the great things that I was able to do. So I progressed from a cook in Melbourne to executive chef in the Hilton in Dubai, and then slowly transitioned, I think, not by choice, but just naturally out of the kitchens into a more food and beverage overall role. But along the way, I've always kept my heart and soul with the cooks, because at the end of the day, I'm a cook. And I think that journey up until that point was all because of people that saw something in me, put their faith in me, and pushed me a little bit more. And I'm a great believer in that giving back. I'm a great believer in making sure that whatever we do along our way as senior leadership in hospitality is that we bring our people with us. It's no good thinking that you know everything. It's no good thinking that only you can make the decisions, and you've got no one around you that can do better than you. If you think like that, then it's just a spiral down, because you're not going to leave a legacy. You're going to leave a vacuum when you leave of knowledge, because you don't want to share. So as long as I keep going in any role, I'll always try to give back to whatever it is we do.
Yeah,
And also yeah, I mean that's the thing, but it takes a long time for some people to realize that. I was one of them. It takes courage to change. It takes a lot of self-reflection on how you manage people and what you want to do with your own life. Yeah. And then in 92, when I arrived, it was the formation of the Emirates Culinary Guild.
right.
So the Emirates Culinary Guild was set up by Mike Lee, who was our first president, Alan Tong, God rest his soul. He was the coordinator. What's his name? Dear me, Mike Wunsch. He's also passed away. Francois Porte, who's down in Koh Samui, still cooking at the ripe old age of 84 plus. There was Peter Fuchs, who we're going to go and visit in Wales. He was out here. There was McCarthy. There was a group of guys that got themselves organised back in 91 and 92, and Paul Allard, of course. And then they set up the Emirates Culinary Guild. At first, it was helped by the Chaîne de Rôtisseurs and Toque Blanche, and then they formed the Emirates Culinary Guild. And we were established in 92 in April in a meeting in the Hilton. So that was great. So I was a founding member. So that was nice. And then in 94, Mike and Alan, they traveled to Stavanger in 1994 to Stavanger to the Congress, where they received their charter as the National Chefs Association of the United Arab Emirates. And since then, that's how and myself became involved in Worldchefs. The journey then took a bit of a turn, because then I was fortunate enough to be given the responsibility to run food and beverage at Emirates Towers Hotel. And back then, Emirates Towers Hotel was the bee's knees of food and beverage, cutting edge. And, the likes of Otto Weibel from Singapore and the guys that used to come to our culinary competitions, they would come and take photographs of what we were doing. Back in the day, we'd go to Singapore and Hong Kong to see what they were doing, So it was, and I was extremely lucky. Again, pushed by the general manager, Miss Doris Greif, who I'd worked with in the Hilton. She was the director of rooms and the Hilton director of rooms, and I was a sous chef. So we were great friends, still are. And she said, "You, Aussie, you will run the food and beverage," and this was just amazing. The people I had over 600 staff, 19 outlets, and all of the colleagues, all of the chefs, all of the waiters, all of the restaurant managers were just excellent. Marco Tarazzo, he's the executive chef down at Grosvenor House still. He was our chef in charge of our all-day dining Italian restaurant, for example. James Viles from Australia, he's run a restaurant up in Sydney. So there's a lot of people that have done very well. Some of our trainees went on to be general managers, food and beverage directors, working corporate offices now. So I was extremely lucky. And then I was also involved heavily in all the huge caterings, massive caterings, 5,000 events in the desert, air show, gala dinners, golf, tennis. I used to run all the 3 golf big tournaments. So I was given this opportunity to work in food and beverage. So take the white jacket off, put a black one on, but I was still so connected to the culinary because I'd run the back of house and then I'd started in the F&B. And then in 2010, I became general manager of one of our hotels. And by that time, I went up to the desert and did a year in the desert in a hotel and then came down in 2011 to Madinat Jumeirah, which was just phenomenal. And so I'm still connected there by doing the events and catering business. Then I was general manager in one of the hotels there. I worked with some fantastic hoteliers again. And then I progressed to run the event business. I run a nightclub, a beach club on the side called Zero Gravity, which is pretty much one of the longest serving beach clubs. Yeah. So, but all these opportunities, Ragnar, started because I was washing dishes in Melbourne.
Absolutely. And that's such an amazing, inspiring journey, almost like how in the making of a chef. And to the young people you were talking to just earlier that, hesitate to come into our profession and staying and seeing the opportunities. Is what you said is you put your foot out, you step outside your door, and the people you meet and the little breadcrumbs you throw will bring you to the next station and next station and
Yeah.
next station. And then it's amazing industry how you can progress and travel the world and progress in your career and have all these experiences with all the people that you meet along the way. You mentioned a lot of names, and you know these are still people we see around the world. It's such a small world. An inspiration for the young people to to realize that everything is possible in this industry. You can really go from your little hometown in Melbourne to wherever on the planet you
Yeah. I
might
mean,
expect or
it's,
not expect to go. So it's,
yeah. I mean,
it's
you got to
along the
take the
way.
opportunities that are afforded you, right? If you don't take the courage to step out of your comfort zone and do it, but it's also our job to inspire people to join the industry. And it's not fast track to fame. It's, there's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of repetitious and boring jobs, as I used to call it, but there's so much more to cooking. And if you've got a passion for cooking, that's what you need. You've got to have a passion to serve people. You've got to have a passion to want to work in a team. And it's about the team, especially as we move up the ladder into our leadership. A lot of my friends, they're still chefs. That's it. That's what they want to do. And chapeau, for me, it was just different. I just moved out of the kitchen day to day, but still have that connectivity through Worldchefs, through the Emirates Culinary Guild, and through the education that we do with the ICCA school here and the other schools that I get asked to sit on advisory boards. So that knowledge is also being shared with education as well.
Yeah.
And I think, the education piece is most important. And that's what we in Worldchefs really, really look forward to through our academy and through all our platforms that we're setting up for the education, our education committee, our 141 plus certified schools globally, and that's great. And then my real foot in the door, I would say, for Worldchefs was when there was a need to develop the Young Chef Development Committee under past President Geisel. And Dr. Billy Gallagher said, I know who we'll get. So he called me, he said, and Billy came to our Congress in 2008. So we in Dubai in the United Arab Emirates, we hosted the Congress in the Middle East in 2008. And Billy came. And by then we'd sort of already started with Alan Oriel, who's now the president of the Emirates Culinary Guild, sort of organizing ourselves a little bit around young chefs. Alan was involved. And then Billy said, I need you to do something. I need you to carry on what we're doing in the Bill Gallagher Forum and the Bill Gallagher name, and I want you to help. And I want you and then Jodie Ann Purton, Dale Lyman from Australia, you and Alan, you guys have to keep the name going, but I want you to do that. So by about 2010, I think it was, that was my first pure role as a chairman of the Young Chef Development Committee. Happened around, I think it was 2010 from memory. And we brought a young guy in called Jasper Jack from Singapore, who was the young chef in Singapore, who's now the chairman of the committee. So that was my first real deep dive into Worldchefs. And then in 2015, I got another call from Charles Carroll,
As it
president.
wasn't busy enough, we called you up again.
Yeah, so and then and again, Billy, God rest his soul. Unfortunately, Billy, we lost Billy along the way. Billy said, "Well, we'll give the Congress to a busy person. Call Andy, and he'll do it." And you can't say no to Bill Gallagher. It's impossible. Andy, I got a job for you. We need someone to do the Congress. Oh, yes, chef. I had no idea what I was putting myself into. And so then that's when you and I really started to work together, Ragnar. Yeah. And then from when you joined in 2009 and onwards, Charles, and we were in Thessaloniki, and then we started, and I was chairman of the Congress Committee, chairman of the Young Chefs Development Team. And so I was lucky enough to then be able to get in front of the membership. Give me a microphone and 1,000 people, I love it.
I know.
And and just enjoy it, But being up on stage, introducing people and seeing how the community worked, and then getting to see people that come back year after year to the Congress. And I think that for me is one of the greatest memories in World Chefs is all the things we've done at the Congress, but all the people we've met at Congress and along the way. So as chairman of the Congress committee, all the way up until pretty much the Singapore one, basically, I think, yeah. It's been a wonderful journey, and then Alan Oriel took over from me as the chairman of the Young Chef Committee a number of years ago. He then handed the reins over to Jasper Jeck, so that succession planning was important. But all that involvement and all that interaction with the global community of what we are as world chefs, as you describe us, the UN of chefs, yeah, really is again expanding the network. And so, I've had this incredible journey with World Chefs up until that point, getting to know people, having culinary competitions, traveling with big delegations with Uwe Michiel, who was our president for Uwe and I. Uwe was president of the guild for, I think, 24 or 26 years, and I was chairman for 24 or 26 years. I can't remember exactly how long it just continued. And then Uwe and I, and the guild team, we said, no, we've got to get out into the world. We've got to get the United Arab Emirates flag out there, and we're gonna go to Germany. And off we went to the Olympics back in 2012. And then we went back every 4 years. Then we went to the Luxembourg, and then we started to really bring our boys and girls along, our Indians, Sri Lankans, our Indians, our Filipinos, our Indonesians. We brought all the pastry artists, the artists. We had a senior team, a young chefs team, Malaysia, Singapore, Hong Kong, Luxembourg, Germany, really Maldives, pushing our guys to out into the international world, where we did very, very, very well. And that was another proud moment for us as individuals, but also the guild, of how we managed to get the United Arab Emirates firmly in the international culinary competition arena,
right,
and do so well. We would come back with 60 gold medals, 70 gold medals. Yeah, there was a time where I remember at one of the awards ceremonies in Germany, I think it was Christian, the MC. It was either Germany or Lucky. He said, "Can you guys just stay on stage? Because
bring the
up and
medals
down,
out.
up and
Stay
down."
there, bring the medals.
But we were lucky, we were very lucky to be able to bring 40 or 50 people,
Yeah,
from across the world, and do all that. And I think that for me was some of the greatest times up until the point of October the 24th, 2024.
Ooh.
That was another thing. And then to become president, never any. I mean, someone was harassing me for 4 years to be the president. I kept telling them no.
Yeah.
But, as you mature, I guess, Ragnar, and as you see things change, and if you see an opportunity, and if Billy used to always say, for the integrity of world chefs.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not about the individual. It's about, world chefs. It's about the global community. And I think that was important for me. And then getting more and more involved, working with the office all these years, seeing what the office was doing, seeing how we were changing as an association. Were we getting a bit lost in some things? Yes. Were we on the right track with other things? Yes, we are, and we still are. But I thought, well, maybe I should.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I reached out to a number of people. One, of course, being Uwe first. I said, "What do you think, chef? Should we do it?" He said, "Yep, okay, let's do it." And then I reached out to Rick, and Christine, of course, and then Alain Hosted. So, and that's how we put together a small team of people that not all like-minded, not all from the same city, not all from the same generation, not all from the same background, and that's how we came up with our core to put ourselves forward, to throw our hat in the ring, to do the presidency. And that's how we sort of started, and it wasn't until really 2022 or 2023, I would say, that I then said, okay, let's give it a go, and it was, I said, let's give it a go. And we're not gonna reinvent the world. It's not rocket science. It's not broken. But what else can we do to enhance? And my thing was that we took over in 96 years, on the 96th year, and the biggest thing for myself was in 4 years' time, we're going to be 100. And you and I had the discussion in Thessaloniki when I said, Ragnar, when we were lying down in the lobby of the hotel the next day, exhausted, after everyone had gone home, we were lying down. I said, we've got to go to Paris.
Yeah.
I said, the Congress in 2028 must be in Paris. How we do that between 2016 and 2028, we've got time. But that was always sort of my
The vision.
dream or my thing, that we needed to bring the association back home
Yeah.
for its 100th anniversary.
And so we shall.
And I had no inclination or no idea and no drive or desire earlier to be the president. But when I look at the presidential ribbon, and down the bottom it says 1928 Auguste Escoffier,
Mhm.
and in 2028 it'll have my name. That's quite something.
That's
That touches the heart. That touches, wow. The kid from Melbourne is on that ribbon next to some of the greatest chefs in the world and the chef of chefs. And I think that was a bonus. There was no planning for that ever in my mind. It was just the way things pan out.
the way
And
the
I think
numbers came together. Yeah.
that message is just, for the young people that are grinding every day, you got to keep at it. And if you get opportunity, just grab it, go for it. Another great statement from Anton Mosman was just do it. Yeah.
You
Go
go.
for it.
Yeah.
And so, that's how we sort of put our hand up and said, okay, we'll run as president, and then off we went, and here we
Make
are.
a long story short, here you are, president, 1 year later. And
Yeah.
so no, that's a great story and very inspiring. And now that you're 1 year into your mission, what has been sort of remarkable over the first 12 months of your presidency? What have you observed, and how do you feel things are going?
It's going to be a long road. There's a lot that needs to be looked at. There's a lot that needs to be listened to from our membership, and that's one of the first things that we said. The communication and the transparency needs to be at the top of the agenda, and that's what we laid out when we did our presidential bid. We also looked at the governance and the way we will need to run World Chefs in a business fashion. We have an office with 9 people. We have a responsibility to 100+ associations around the world. The communication needs to be improved. And then, of course, the governance. And the governance was one of the biggest things that we listened to during the last Congress, around the bylaws and the standing rules. And there was a huge request from the membership that this must be reviewed. And that is being reviewed right now. We have the first, second, and third draft of the bylaws that has now come out. We said that we would have the French lawyers look at it, because as we moved away from a club environment to an association and a business environment, and as we settled in France in 2009-10, when we first started renting the office in Paris, and the new office in Paris where we visited was fantastic, and that is at the moment still on the top of the agenda. And the other part that was extremely important for me was, how are we going to sustain another 100 years? And what do we need to do to get there? Because what got us here will not get us there.
Yeah.
What we've done in the past is a reflection of excellence. However, we need to be looking forward 100 years, and my desire for our presidium is to finish at the Congress in 2028 and hand the baton over to the next presidency with a solid plan and structure and strategy in place that can take the next presidium forward, as we were handed over a very strong association by the past presidency and the past board. And how can we honor that by honoring the next board that comes in after myself? I have really no desire to run more than 4 years, because I think it's important that leadership needs to change and leadership needs to be relinquished, but with a proper succession plan and a proper strategy in place, because that's your responsibility in any business. And I think the communication piece is vital as well.
Yeah.
How do we communicate out? The other part that we heard from our membership was, well, what do you do for me? Okay. We can throw back at that one about JFK saying to his people, don't ask of the country what it can do for you. What can you do for the country? But we have to listen to the majority and not the minority. We have to understand that we are a global body. We're not a European body. We're not an Asian body. We're a global body, and there is so much diversification, so much different economy to scale, so many different ideals, cultures, heritage that we have to understand if we are to believe that we are the UN of the chefs, or in that realm. And I think that is still a big part of what we need to be doing as the World Chefs Presidium Board plus the office. How are we going to communicate to the far-flung reaches of the world?
Yeah.
Now, in the modern AI world, people say, oh, AI will take their jobs. Well, I think AI stands for Andy's intelligence. Our business is people. But how can we use AI to enhance what we do to make it easier? We had a feedback just this week about the Spanish language. We're getting ready for our International Chef's Day, October the 20th, globally. We've got a fantastic partner, which is Nestlé Professional. We've got engaged committee head, Vanessa Maki from the ACF, First Lady of President Rene in America. She is a passionate lover of all things to do with kids and healthy eating. So she's driving that committee, but it's all in English. So what are we going to do? And I know I've written to you this week, Ragnar. And how can we utilize the technologies that we're talking about and some of the things that we've already started to look at through Foodverse or whatever it might be? How do we enhance our communication skills to reach everybody? And the other big point from our members was education. Education is not just going to a hospitality school or a hospitality management school spending €100,000 a year. Education is as simple as basic food hygiene and personal hygiene for a chef and temperature control in a small village somewhere. But how do we communicate? How do we get that education down? We have to make it free. We have to make it accessible to more than just the norm. And I think that is a challenge. We are moving in the right direction. We've got a good solid base of continental directors that are now driving with their presidents, but we still need the engagement levels up. And then the education piece will also give us much more credibility with our members, I feel. And as long as they can see what we're doing, then they're able to go to new associations or go to their tourism ministry or their education ministry, say, we are members of the World Association of Chef Societies. They do 1, 2, 3 for us. They're going to help us with our chefs on the ground. You know, I've spoken at length to government ministries in Ghana and Liberia, for example. And the one thing they ask is, well, what are you going to do for the chefs on the ground?
Yeah.
So that is something that we need to look at. You can't, you know, World Chefs is like an oil tanker in the ocean. It takes a long time to turn.
Yeah.
It's not a Zodiac can zip around, you know, because there is process, there is mindset, but there is also legacy, and there's also what we know we need to do, but how do we get everybody on board to do it? And for me, the strongest thing is the communication piece. On the 18th of this month, I'll have a free talk with Andy, it's called, and it's all the presidents of Europe go first. Next will be the Americas in November. It'll be 11 p.m. or midnight my time, 10 a.m. Their time. Then it'll be the Pacific, the Asia, and so on and so forth. And that is purely to listen to our presidents. And it's only for the presidents. I won't have the board. I'll have the continental directors from Europe, of course. I'll have the continental director of America, for example, the Americas, but I'll have the presidents and one continental director, and it'll be purely no topic is taboo. Yeah. So communication is key. Governance and bylaws, that we must nail down in the standing rules so we know what we're meant to do. Yep. Yeah. And once the bylaws are done, the bylaws need to be fixed. And I'm very grateful for John Sloan for coming back into the bylaws as the bylaws chair, which he was back in 2016, along with a team of very, very mature and seasoned professionals, but also people that have been in their own associations and world chefs in that more administrational role. We have Don Gravakis from up in Canada, Hazel Mulberry over in Scotland, Tori from Iceland, and then, of course, Ray McCure from the Americas being led by John. So that committee is important. And the way we set the committees up is another, I think, you asked me what has gone well. I believe that the committees, the way we've set up the committees and asked, not told, but asked the way the committees have been set up has brought a fresh approach to the committees. The committees, for me, are the voice and doers of what we say we're going to do in World Chefs. We have a number of very, very good leads, committee heads. We have people that have been on the committees for some time. We have a few committees that have got the same person in charge, but the request and the ask from those committees is prepare your second layer and third layer, just like you do in any kitchen or any hotel or any business. Where's your succession plan? And I use the Feed the Planet as a very good example. Chris Kotke, he wished to step back. He stepped back, but Shona was there. Shona took over, but Chris is still there in the background supporting. And I think that's important that we don't. Yeah. Exactly. We keep the momentum going because people have done a lot of work for 4 years. It's not throw them out and get new and start again. This doesn't work for me. We have also Wilmot, who's been running Worldchefs Without Borders, and he's gracefully accepted to stay on until May, and he's grooming a second person, which is great.
Correct.
The continental directors are grooming people also as vice chairs or vice assistant CDs where there's a need. Asia, there was a need. Africa, Middle East, there was a need. You know, Africa, Middle East, you have Arabic, you have English, you have French, you have German, you have different languages from the heritage of the continent of Africa. You have people in Lebanon speaking Arabic and French, for example, so you needed a mix. So we have Arabic, we have French speaking, and we have African representation. So North Africa, Central Africa, Middle East, plus our continental director. So I think the committees, we have this great band of people. You know, people say, "Oh, you'll have to travel and you'll have to do this and you'll be so busy." I said, "Well, hang on a minute. Yeah. If we've got 14 people in the board and we've got 97 presidents and 100 presidents and 15 heads of department, which is the committees, and 197 people under there, isn't that enough people to spread the word?"
Right. Yeah. I mean, I see over the last year, I see there's a lot of consolidation. There's a lot of restructuring and sort of stabilizing a lot of these things that you mentioned, whether it's governance, bylaws, or committees, and really giving people tasks. I just want to think back, because what you're saying, that, you know, you're thinking about the next 100 years and how things can be difficult to turn around. As you know, I started in 2009, and we had our first strategy meeting with selected people from industry, not just from our boys club, but from industry, from other sectors, and we created this plan, and we used the Billy Gallagher uh,
Doctrine.
doctrine that was already like 10 or 15-year old. Which actually throughout laid out that vision of we should have an office with a staff, with a manager, with the finance, with the communications, with this and that, and how to structure that. Basically, that was that those were the pillars that were laid out by Billy Gallagher 15 years later, is what we've been building on over the since 2012. Now, we had a discussion about that. It's been now 12 years that we haven't revised where we are, what have we achieved? And I think we have achieved everything that was in that doctrine. Now, then we have to start thinking, well, where do we go from here? And
What's next?
what's next? What are the next 100 years? And so I mean, there's been a great job, but you mentioned communication now with asking the presidents what they think, asking different people. We're going to have this conversation now with the members. We did a SWOT analysis, and a lot of great comments came from that.
Yep.
I think this is, this is a crucial moment. It's our 100th anniversary soon. That in 2028 we really have a plan to move forward. And it's crazy once you have a plan, it's written down, and everybody agrees. Somehow they just come true.
Yeah. The
It's
doctrine was
miracle.
written in
It's a miracle.
1992.
Yeah.
Yeah, the doctrine was 92. The next one was 12.
1992.
We
Took
did one
20 years to get
strategy
it.
in
Yeah.
15 or 16. In Singapore, there was a strategy meet. And
Yeah.
it's all similar.
Mm.
But another core part for me is the office.
Mm.
The office will be there post-president. The office will be there pre-president, post-board, pre-board. The office will be, for me, the office is the constant. And what the office has done in the last 12 months, where we said together, Ragnar, when we came in, if we want to be the voice of chefs, if we aspire to be the UN of cooks, then we have to start to play in that circle. And I think some of the recent initiatives around the UN, around World Central Kitchen, Burnt Chef Project, and the UNESCO projects that now Connie and the team have now reached out to people in certain countries. This is exactly what we need to be pushing, because then we start being recognized and a little bit more respected for who we're becoming and where we've come from as well.
Yeah.
And the whole thing of the communication is, who is Worldchefs? Never heard of you.
Yeah.
Okay. And that theme is stuck in the back of my mind, that we are not who we think we are yet. We're halfway there, maybe.
Yeah.
But how do you reach that bigger audience? And that's our challenge in the office. But the office, for me, as I said, the office is going to be the constant.
Yeah.
I recently had the privilege to be invited to the ACF convention in Vegas. 141 chapters, 3 international chapters, and schools recognized outside of the country, with an office of 26 people. South Africa, similar setup. India, similar setup. Many of our larger associations are actually doing the business part already, that I believe and strongly believe that we as Worldchefs, Presidium Board and membership base need to understand that's what we have to do. We're not a local association. We're the world body. We're the world association. Everyone else is with us. And that's the tricky bit.
I know.
And that's the next part as well, that is challenging myself and my team.
Yeah.
And that is where we'll be calling upon support from the membership as well.
When I came in 15 years ago, and up until today, maybe up until very recently, I always looked at Worldchef like a startup, and we were doing and trying so many new things, growing from 1 person in the office to now having 9 person in the office, and we're going to add more people next year, so 10 people soon. It's really what you say. It's going to stabilize that nobody is permanent, and nobody is, everybody's rejected. Everybody, it can be replaced, and so
Yeah,
there is no danger of disappearing. But yeah, we've been working like a startup, and I think now is probably time to stop and think of how do we become a real professional corporate with a long-term vision and structures in place and governance in place that
yeah,
allow us to reach that other step where we'll become uh, recognized as the global body around the world, whether it's
yeah.
United Nations or amongst chefs, the line cooks and what have you around the globe.
We need to be the go-to people.
Mm,
Oh,
mm,
go to those guys. They know.
yeah,
You know, I've been in this country so long. I'll ask Andy, he'll know. If we go to Singapore, ask Otto, he'll know. If we go to Luxembourg, ask Alan, he'll know. Oh, I need to know about something to do with culinary. Oh, speak to Worldchefs, maybe
yeah.
they know.
They get a comment from
I
us.
think,
Oh,
yeah, and I think that would be the ultimate dream, but we need to set it up. We need to
set it up. Yeah,
go one step forward, two steps back, go again forward. But the other connecting piece that I haven't covered, which is most important, is our sponsors,
mm,
is the people that have supported us all these years. And as sponsorship cash, sponsorship in kind, sponsorship in support gets harder and harder, what are we doing to deliver on our promise to them as well? So for me, that's most important. Um, our members, our presidents of the larger associations are most important, as are the fledgling, the newer people. We've just had today in the Cook Islands, which is a 14-hour plane trip from Australia. They're doing the Global Chef Cook-Off in a school with President Carleen is leading it, and the Cook Island television has picked it up as a newsworthy 15-minute slot, which they've published around the world. Now, Cook Islands is small. They've got 37,000 people that follow the television channel on Facebook, for example. But there they are promoting World Chefs, Global Chef, semi-final challenge for Pacific in Cook Islands. So people like Carlene are out there doing their very best with herself, and Matt McBain's out there, like Peter's going up there. So there's a group of people helping them, but they're the ones also that how are we going to help them to come up, and how can our sponsors assist? And the biggest thing with our sponsorship, like we know in business, what's my ROI? What am I getting out of it? What's my marketing? Gone are the days of, here
yeah,
you go, have some cash, boys. You're okay. No, 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 no. How many Facebook users you got? Where's your reach? Where's this? And that's important for us as World Chefs, the company part or whatever, however we want to call it, to really support our sponsors. So in turn, we can then support our members as well. We've had these great discussions on the membership fee, these great discussions about the Congress charges, and it's only for certain people because the rest of the people can't afford it. And that has challenged myself, being not only the president, but before that being the continental director of one of the poor regions of the world, out in Africa. I don't look at the Middle East countries where I live as one of the poor countries. We are who we are in the UAE and Saudi and Qatar, Bahrain. The Gulf states are fine, but the rest of the continental area was very tough. Yeah. And then, of course, how do you support that? But that always challenged me as a continental director of what we do for the Congress to really get more people coming to the Congress. And
yeah,
how do we generate the interest for people to come? What is the value? And I think a lot of our membership still don't really see the value that the Congress offers. It's expensive. It's a long way to travel if you're coming from Australia or the Cook Islands to go to Wales. Yep, it's not it's a lot of time out of people's holiday. It's a lot of time away from work. People that are running into their own business, they're not going to be there for at least 6 days, 7 days. So there's a lot of things that we need to think about of how we do some of
yeah.
our collective.
Yeah, a lot of
things
thoughts
as
to be
well.
put into what is the Congress and who is it for, and maybe we should be doing different things for the young chefs, maybe at different venues, and doing more things for the young chefs all around the year. Having a Congress every year for the presidents to vote on bylaws and finance what have you, and having a great gathering of chefs with the demos and competitions, and so a great reflection to be put into what is
Yeah,
the Congress and what do we want
because
out of
that
physical events
and
where people come together.
and that was one of the questions when I became president. It's too expensive. We can't afford it. This is not good. Okay, what can we do? So we've made a commitment that we will go to Paris in 2028, but it'll be a different, and we've discussed this with Charles Carroll, who has taken the reins as Congress chairman with the office and the board. In 2028 needs to be a celebration of world chefs. It needs to be a celebration of food, gastronomy, and it needs to be about the camaraderie of working in a kitchen.
Yeah.
And so it'll be a different Congress. There will be a little bit of business on the last day, but it's all around bringing the association home for its 100th birthday. But then also the next one, what are we going to do in 2030 and then 2032? And so one of the big things that we've done, because we know competitions are so important to so many of our members, and there's some great competitions happening daily. We've just finished the Salon de Chocolat in Dubai. In Kuala Lumpur, they just finished the Global Chef and the FHM in Food Hotel Malaysia in Kuala Lumpur. Today and tomorrow we have Global Chefs in the Pacific. There's a competition happening up in Baku. There's a competition that was happening over in Croatia or wherever it was 6 weeks ago. Maldives were 2 weeks ago. So competitions are so important. How do we make sure that we can get the best out of the competitions? And we have our Global Chef Challenge, pastry, young, vegan, and senior. How do we make that a world-class, best-in-class competition that people aspire to be? Culinary Olympics, Luxembourg World Cup, Bocuse d'Or.
Yeah.
Are we there yet? I think we're close. We need to look at how we can make it even better, but we need to be first best in class. And so we're looking, and we've recently done as the board, after a lot of discussion and a lot of backwards and forwards and input from the office, input from members, we've now gone out to tender basically with the Global Chef to try and anchor the finals to one city
Hmm.
somewhere
Give it a home.
globally, somewhere for 3 years or three cycles, and then look at the semi-finals. That gives stability to the competition. That gives a fixed date, but it also takes it away from the Congress, which then you don't distract, you don't cannibalize audience by having some people looking at the competition and some people looking at the Congress. We have everybody looking at the Congress, everybody pushing and looking at the competition, giving the global chefs the recognition and the visibility that it deserves and it must have. But it also helps the young kids that are cooking behind the stove. It gives them the recognition because that's who it's for, and then our supporters. So there's a lot to do.
A lot to do. An opportunity to make a better Congress.
Yeah.
That's it. So
And
there's
I hope the members are feeling that there is
mm,
movement. I hope the members are feeling that there is a change of direction in some of the things we do. And these free talks with myself, where no topic will be taboo, it will be very inspiring. You mentioned the SWOT analysis, so we sent that out. I would have liked to have seen some more responses, but the responses we got were excellent because it's honest, it's transparent. Some of it's hard, some of it's nice, but we're not here to be nice. We're here to be the best we can for our membership, but also we need to look at how we can improve globally, the plight of all cooks. And someone asked me, are we only for cooks or pastry chefs, butchers, bakers? artists, kitchen artists. Who are we for? We're for the food industry, really. You know,
Yeah.
we're open to all, Ragnar. There's no stipulation that says you can't be this and you can't be that. Of course, butchers, bakers, pastry chefs, cooks, line cooks. When I was in Vegas, I had a chat with one of the guys working behind one of the counters of the in the lobby of the hotel there. And I said, "Oh, how are you, chef?" "Oh no, I'm just a line cook." I said, "No, no, mate. You're a chef. You're serving, you're cooking, you're doing, you're managing yourself. Don't demean yourself. You know,
Absolutely.
for me, if we're all the same, then we are cooks because we cook. Yeah. Chef, we manage, but cook, we all cook.
Yeah. Well,
But
thank
that's
you.
what I really hope. I hope the members, things don't move as quick as we'd like sometimes, but then that's just
Yeah.
the environment that we're in, and
Yeah.
we need to make sure that we understand the 96 years past, communicate for the next 100 years forward, but how we get there in the next 3 years, because already 1 year down, three to go. We've got Congress in May. We had a Congress in October. We've already got another one in May 2026. We're then in October 2028, which is not very far away when you look at it,
No, no, no.
back in Paris. And then there'll be another election, and then there'll be another round of voting. But it's a celebration. The Congress in Paris for me is about our membership and our association's 100th anniversary. And anything else we do, yep, we have to do it. We have to vote. We have to do whatever. That's fine. But we really need to look at Paris as being this gathering of the community of cooks from around the world to come home and enjoy gastronomy and camaraderie together,
Yeah. Thank you, Andy.
and
Thank you,
good
Andy.
cheese and good bread.
That's it. That's it. That's all we need at the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, thank you for we touched base on a lot of things, and definitely the takeaway is that we need to think about the next 100 years. It is nothing to rush into. We need to ask the members. We need to analyze things correctly and move forward. As you said, they move the oil tanker slowly in the right direction, so we're not tipping over and
Yeah.
over our own feet. And so thank you for sharing that vision with our members. That might be they might be eager to see changes now, but to understand that this takes reflection and time and planning to make it right for the future of World Chef. So that's
Yeah. Because it's not my association. It's our association. I've just been appointed by the members to make sure that the leadership, the board, the office, and the continental directors, and all of us are doing the right thing and working together for a common cause, because that's the responsibility, and that's for, as Billy would say, the integrity of World Chefs.
correct.
We don't work for Andy. We don't work for Ragnar. We work for the membership. We've been elected by the membership. We work for the membership.
Thank
And
you.
I'm more than happy for any of our members, presidents, past presidents of the national associations, their secretary generals, their members, ask questions.
Yeah,
Send me an email,
there's
write to the office, because
message
without
forward.
the membership, we'll be nothing. Yeah.
Yeah,
And without the office, we won't be anything either, because then we're just like a local association. So a lot to think about and a lot to do, as you said, Ragnar, and a lot of planning and a lot of thinking, but not procrastination.
yeah.
We cannot procrastinate. We have to move. We will have to take some hard decisions, and then we take hard decisions, but we take hard decisions that have been thought about, that are full of integrity, and that are open and transparent to why we take that decision.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you very much for joining us, and it's been very insightful. And looking forward to the future. It's exciting times, and yeah, things are really moving forward. So we'll be pedaling along, as you always say.
Plodding along as we must.
We must.
No. And I still believe we're in the greatest industry in the world,
Absolutely.
because the kid from Melbourne can't believe he's sitting here talking to the Viking
Yeah.
over Zoom.
That's
from
right.
Dubai in the United Arab Emirates as president of the World Chefs to our managing director in our Paris office, and we're
Yeah.
coming up to 100th anniversary. I mean, it's exciting, it's humbling, it's so cool. It's really good.
Thank you, Andy. And
Thank you, Ragnar.
thank you all for listening. You're listening to a World Chef podcast. We've been talking to President Andy Cuthbert about his journey to become president and his vision for World Chefs in the future and how to drive that vision further in together with the members. Don't forget to sign up to World Chefs Congress, worldchefscongress.com or worldchefs.org. You'll find a link. There is still time for the early bird rates. Great rates, actually, because there is so much included. So don't forget to join us at the World Chef Congress in Wales in May 2026. Apart from that, don't forget to like World Chefs podcast and subscribe to our podcast so we can bring more content your way. You are listening to World Chefs podcast World on a Plate. I'm your host, Ragnar Fredriksson. Thank you all and take care.